It's Red Eye Radio. Gary McNamara and Eric Harley talk about everything from politics to social issues and news of the day. Whether you're up late or you're just starting your day, welcome to the show. From the Uniden America Studios, this is Red Eye Radio.
All across the USA, we're Red Eye Radio. He is Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Welcome and good morning. What a week it's been.
Woohoo!
I mean, what a week.
Wow.
Oh, man. Did you see that the New York City Council, we just very quickly here, I want to make sure we at least mention this. New York City City Council, after seeing the success, the incredible success of the reparations movement in San Francisco and California, have decided to get the program going for reparations legislation in New York City.
Yeah.
And they've got so much extra money where they should go for it, too. I still think when I came back last week, or this week, that was the one thing that I was just, I could not get that out of my mind. What a beautiful analogy had happened in real life concerning liberalism, to show you where liberalism has gone in 2024. And that was how it went when we were on vacation.
Yeah.
And it was when California came out and said, nope, sorry, we're stalling these reparation bills. There is no money.
Yeah.
And the
right.
reparations activists went crazy. Because do you remember the discussion when they were getting up there talking about, because they had started at $240,000 per eligible reparations recipient.
Right.
And then it got up to $1 million. And then it got up to $5 million.
Yeah.
And then it was actually promoted $200 million.
Yeah.
And we, for the sake of the sake of transparency and truth, decided to extrapolate out all those different figures and come up with what the final bill would be.
Right,
Others did that too, especially for San Francisco. Remember, San Francisco was like every household would then owe $700,000.
Right. Yeah.
Every household have to pay $700,000 for reparations. And when it came out, when you had critics say, well, wait a minute, the money isn't there. Well, we don't care about whether you believe the money is there. This is so important where you've got to find the money.
Yeah.
And then in San Francisco, forget about reparations. They shut down the office. They couldn't afford the office. Well, what I thought was the epitome of liberalism in 2024 was the reparations activists. This was about 10, 11, 12 days ago, went absolutely crazy in California.
Mm-hmm.
What are you talking about? You've been promising it. The whole thing was set up. We spent years putting together panels, and you say you can't do it? Sorry, we don't have the money.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the legislature came out and said, but we want a plan now to give up to $150,000 to everyone, including illegal immigrants, to buy a new home.
Yeah.
Well, then they went crazy about the reparations activists. Went crazy about that. What do you want to give money to illegal immigrants and not to citizens of the United States who suffered as an indirect result of slavery? And then by the time you got to Friday of last week, when the bill was passed and went to Newsom, he says, "No, sorry, we can't do the $150,000 either. We're liberals. We've spent all the money." And we can't raise taxes to fund all these things because we've maxed out our tax potential.
Mm-hmm.
God, that was beautiful. I mean, that was just beautiful because that was the epitome of liberalism. Let us promise everything, go through the process, get people's hopes up, and then when it's time to pass it, go, oh, no, sorry, there was never any money for it. We're just patronizing you.
Yeah.
We really don't give a damn.
Yeah, we just need to say things to get elected. We don't really.
And so New York City, that's in their own fiscal hole, well, okay, it's worked so well over there. Let's do it on the East Coast.
Yeah.
Let's do the East Coast, West Coast thing again, but this time on reparations.
That's exactly what they're doing.
Wow.
I mean,
pure lunacy.
They're having meetings. I know. What should we do? Let's talk reparations. Let's put that out there. So soon after the big implosion in California? Yeah. California's like so far away. Nobody's paying attention to what's going on over there.
We've got such huge surpluses in the budget in New York City.
Right. You can tell them, don't buy anything. Come on.
Bring back. What do they call it? What's it called? They're bringing the cars. You're taxing the cars to go into
Cash for clunkers?
No, not cash for clunkers. No, charging a fee for cars to go into Manhattan.
Oh yeah, the access fee. What did they call that? The congestion fee. Congestion fee.
Gridlock. Yeah, okay,
congestion fee. Yeah.
They'll probably bring that back to pay for reparations. By the way, anybody who wants to bring a car into Lower Manhattan, it's $200 million a time.
Yeah, exactly. Per passenger.
Per passenger.
$400 million for trucks.
All right. And all of a sudden, the spirit of drive-ins from the 1950s and 60s comes back.
Right,
Everybody's in the trunk.
Yeah,
when they go into Manhattan.
A bunch of clowns get out of the trunk. I love it. Wow. My gosh. But they're having, again, someone saying it out loud. Not long. They're still just now coming out of the whole failed reparations thing in California.
Oh.
Do they not look up? Do they not ever get out of the New York bubble?
Well, it's gotten so bad for liberalism in 2024 that the virtue signaling, the emotion of virtue signaling, is now backfiring against them because they know they don't have the money.
Yeah.
I mean, this was the whole thing about the $150,000, for financing housing, including illegal immigrants in it. They knew they didn't have the money from the beginning.
Right.
Everybody knew they didn't have the money. They talked. Newsom said, we don't have the money. And they still went forward with it anyway, saying, doesn't matter whether we have the money. It's the fact that I care to vote this way.
Yeah, right.
That if we had the money, we would do it.
Yeah.
But you don't have the money. Well, it doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter.
It's the virtue signaling. It's the fact that we voted for something and promised something and got people's hopes up that we could never be involved in. And I always go back to that story of I know it's a completely different topic in a way, but it's the same type of virtue signaling philosophy. That pizzeria, was it in Seattle? Was it in Washington State, I think?
Yeah.
Where he just said, doggone it, I'm going to pay whatever it was, double the minimum wage to all of my employees.
Because it's the right thing to do.
And so it evolved into, well, we stopped lunch because we can't afford to serve lunch anymore because we got to cut back hours because we're paying too much. And finally they closed the entire pizzeria because of labor cost.
Yeah.
And afterwards they talked to the owner who said, I still believe I did the right thing.
Yeah.
How? I mean, that was, again, the epitome
Everyone
of
was
liberalism.
unemployed, including the owner of the establishment.
Right.
Who not only was unemployed, was probably in a lot of debt as a result of all that. But it was still the right thing to do.
Jeez.
Wow. Now somebody will find him and he'll go, yeah, I've totally changed my mind and I'm voting Trump. After delivering pizza for other people to pay off my debt, I realize, oh, yeah, meritocracy is a thing. It's actually something we need to look into.
And it's important that we bring that up, that we don't forget about where liberalism has gone right now, that it's not about getting things done.
Right.
It's strictly about imagery. And that's really, when you look at this campaign right now, this is the problem that Democrats have. They've been winning on imagery for such a long time. They've been winning on the hypothetical that if government gives you everything, we're going to have a better society.
Yeah, right.
People now realize, well, we can't afford everything.
Right.
We can't do it. Look, California could have said, look, it was the liberals that promoted. They could have said, okay, we're going to tax the daylights out of billionaires in California.
Yeah.
We can pay for these reparations. We can pay for the $150,000. We can drastically increase taxes on the rich. They didn't do that.
Right.
Why didn't they do that? At least
They
to pay
know.
for parts of it.
Right.
Why didn't they do that?
Because they know.
Because they're the ones that claim that the rich can pay for everything.
Right.
Well, you have a ton of billionaires and millionaires still in California. If the reparations were that important and you really believed in it and you believed in up to $150,000 to finance, new homes for your citizens and illegal immigrants, you tell us constantly that the solution is to tax the rich. You could have taxed the rich in California more, and you didn't do it.
Right.
Why?
Right.
Because you can't, because you already see the harm that your policies are having to your state economy.
Well, when they
That's
were
why.
doing the cost per household of reparations, now with a great number of those households no longer there, and their population declining, look, they know how this works. Who was it? Cuomo? On certain things I can't afford to be liberal.
Oh, yeah.
It was the millionaire's tax.
There was a millionaire's tax that he was against.
In New York.
Yeah.
And then he finally caved because he didn't really have any choice. The liberal lawmakers in that state were going that direction. You're going to have to jump on board. Remember when he went and was telling the billionaires, come back, I'll make dinner for you?
Oh, didn't they put? No. It was that
That wasn't
was
the millionaire's tax.
that
That was something after the millionaire's
Was
tax.
that the mayor? No, didn't the mayor of New York, didn't he put up billboards in Florida to come back from COVID?
Yeah, he did that. But
did that,
also
but
Cuomo said,
did that. Okay.
come back. We need
Make
the
you
billionaires to come back. Now, that was different than the billionaires or millionaires tax. But it's the same idea. They know that millionaires, billionaires, actually now everyday people can pick up and will pick up and move. As I've been saying, at some point you can't afford to stay.
Did you see that the liberal media, it seems like every time, now we all know that you have people move constantly.
Mm-hmm.
I know people that have moved to California in the last 6 months for a job from Texas.
Yeah.
So what it is people are always moving. There's always opportunity for individuals. But you look at the net, how many people total are, at the end of the day.
Right, what the population is.
What the population is in Texas and Florida are going. But it's just so funny that every time somebody moves from Florida or Texas to California, the liberal media get a hold of it. I saw a couple stories this week. This person moved to Dallas and didn't like it. They said the weather was too hot, so they're moving back to California. It's like they're picking the individual instances.
No,
and they think they have
that.
a point that's you seen like that point is convincing the masses. Well, if the weather, of course, weather is always the reason you did it. Nobody said the argument from Texans was not the weather, the heat, and the fire ants are welcoming you here.
Right. The fire ants are strong enough to help you move in. They can lift furniture.
Even during a flood.
Yeah.
They'll float along.
Sure, exactly.
But it was like, well, no, we're talking strict. Or they'll find somebody. Well, I took my art degree and I couldn't find a good job in Texas.
Right. Exactly.
It's like, come on. And we know why people are moving here.
Right.
You can still buy a house. There's a lot of people. I mean, you've seen the growth in like small cities where people can go into small, medium-sized cities. There's so much land here where you can build a home and it's a lot cheaper.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And that's why they're coming. They understand, and the thing is, I've lived everywhere, and you know something? You adapt to the weather. Well, except for Vegas and Phoenix.
Yeah.
I can adapt to the weather.
Well, you can adapt
in Dallas,
in Vegas and Phoenix if you like cooking your eggs on the sidewalk. That's one way to adapt.
There are some places.
Just lean into it.
Right. And odds are I'm not going to move to Anchorage either.
No, but
there's cold and there's hot.
I love watching things that are based in Alaska. I just love watching the scenery in Alaska. One of the things that's actually kind of kept it at bay in terms of, and I really am, I'm going to go, but my wife and I are trying to decide when to go because one of the things that's come out and that I've seen more recently, people in Alaska know this, the mosquitoes are so horrible.
Oh.
Because in the summer, as everything's melting, there's a lot of standing water. There's a ton of standing water. And the mosquitoes are horrible in parts of Alaska. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to have to time it just right.
All right,
I don't want to go to war with mosquitoes on vacation.
Yeah, I don't know how many winters I would want to spend it. And I grew up in Buffalo.
Oh, the winters,
in Minnesota, for example.
Yeah, right. No,
I mean, those are pretty cold winters. So weather's always, an option that people, something is a variable that people use when they move. But most people, if they're going to move now, a lot of people, probably a greater percentage, are moving strictly because of financial reasons. And I saw one guy in California did it. People moved to Texas. Most said, yeah, we're happy. Yeah, it's hotter. Mm. And the scenery may not be as great as where we lived in California, but I am saving money for my future, and I live in a nicer house.
Right.
So there is no nirvana.
No, there isn't. No.
There never has been.
No, there is no, perfect situation. You do make the best of what you got. But, again, there is a situation where I believe people get to it. I saw a comedian the other day on a podcast talking about, and he's from California, grew up, born and raised, and said, I can't really afford to live in California anymore. So he flies his dad out. He's a known comedian. He said he'll fly his dad out to shows and everything else. His dad still lives out there, but he costs a living. He could not stay in California.
866-90 Red Eye.
This morning's USDA Farm Report is brought to you by Howes Products. Tested, trusted, guaranteed since 1920.
What perhaps is the potential economic benefits of farmers markets to a local community or region? As USDA Undersecretary for Marketing and Regulatory Programs Jenny Moffitt recently learned about a farmer's market in her hometown of Davis, California.
I heard from them that actually they are the top economic driver in the downtown core of Davis.
In the case of each farmer's market, the opportunities they provide include economic for vendors and producers.
Direct-to-consumer sales, like at farmers markets, actually increases that revenue stream sevenfold compared to when they sell through those mainstream channels.
And economic for the local community.
The economic and the ripple effects for farmers market increase demand for local services as well, whether at transportation and logistics and marketing. All of those different things are really a critical part. So farmers markets are great in the entity that they serve, but they're also really a huge economic driver.
I'm Rod Bain reporting for the U.S. Department of Agriculture in Washington, D.C.
This report brought to you by Cenex Fuels and Lubes.
We'll be right back with more Red Eye Radio with Eric Harley and Gary McNamara.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. We finally did it. We reached a record here.
We did?
A record never reached before here in the United States of America, and it didn't take us a year. It took us only 11 months.
Yeah?
It finally came in from the Treasury Department the first 11 months of the fiscal year, which goes from October to October.
Mm-hmm.
Interest payments totaled $1.05 trillion.
We did it.
Up 30% from a year ago. This means we're headed to what they predicted would be between $1.1 and $1.2 trillion in just interest payments, which is why the Fed has to lower the interest rate.
We did it, everybody. Yeah, there really is no way around it now. I was watching some stuff yesterday, looking at some analysis. I don't know anybody that believes that they'll keep the rate steady, that they believe at least a quarter of a point next week on the interest rates downward, and we'll see if they do more. One analyst said, yeah, it wouldn't shock me if he did a half a point. I'm like, whoa.
You're listening to Red Eye Radio from the Uniden America Studios.
And he's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. Download our Red Eye Radio app today, and you can listen when and where you choose. All right, just to make things easy and to put it into perspective, because when we say things like, all right, we've now for the first time passed $1 trillion in debt for a single year. Now, this isn't, excuse me, we have, the debt will be over $2 trillion this year. We are now for the first time have crossed the $1 trillion in just interest payments alone in 11 months. So we're paying as a country this year, it'll probably be close to $1.2 trillion just in interest payments. The government has to pay that money. They have to pay that money, which means, to put it into perspective, if you're a family of four, the government has spent over $12,000, and none of it will go to you. None of it will help you. It's all going to interest payments. Roughly $3,000, if we project out what it'll be, $3,200 for every person the government is spending on interest payments alone this year.
Wow.
That is money that can't be spent on anything else. It can't be spent to build roads, since infrastructure we are so passionate about can't be spent on roads or bridges or broadband or free drug paraphernalia. I had to throw that in, right?
Free beer.
Free beer. It can't be spent on anything. So it's roughly $12,800 the government will spend on interest payments if you're a family of four, that you will see nothing in 1 year. That's how bad it is. And it's funny because somebody wrote us earlier this week and said, but neither campaign's talking about the debt. The public isn't talking about the debt.
Where are the big, I mean, I have to go back to the modern Tea Party thing in April of 2009. But there hasn't been, in this election cycle, I don't know anybody talking about the debt. I don't know rank and file any group that's coming out. I haven't seen it anywhere.
The last time, and I'm glad you brought up the Tea Party, the last time the people of the country were concerned about debt was 2009.
That was really it.
That was it. When they came out, when the Tea Party was formed,
Mm-hmm.
it would have been the fall of 2008 is when it started.
Right, and the
Tea Party, right.
first get-together of that Tea Party
Right.
was in April
Right,
15th
right.
on tax day
Yeah, when they had
of 2009.
exactly. And that was viewed by the media as being racist, remember?
Mm-hmm.
Remember that?
Right.
Since you were concerned
But
about debt.
remember, the first few gatherings of the Tea Party had even some Democrats.
Yeah. Yep.
That didn't last long.
No. And then the time before that was
The first Tea Party.
No, it was I know it was not. It was either it was late 1889 or 90 when they had the clean sweep because of the debt.
You said 1889. You meant 1989.
Did I say 18?
Yeah, you haven't been doing talk radio that long.
Did I really say 18?
Yeah.
Hear ye! Hear ye! 1989 or early 1990 is when they had the clean sweep. And I remember because I just became a talk show host, and I didn't organize it. I attended it. My listeners said, you got to come out because we're doing the clean sweep. And it was all across the country where people, it was actually pretty funny. And I think the debt at that time, I don't know what it was. It was something minuscule. It was like, I don't know, was it 3 trillion, 4 trillion, something like that? And we are now 35. now?
Yeah.
$1 trillion. So, yeah.
And people
it's just-
showed up to protest with brooms.
Yeah, they had brooms and everybody sweeping in front of the congressional offices. It was actually quite humorous.
Right.
I'll never forget that. And it's like, okay, but that and the Tea Party, that's it. And so I know you may be concerned. Look, we've talked about the debt. It's one of the things I've been consistent on since I've been a radio talk show host, is how the debt's going to kill us. The American public don't care unless it affects them with inflation as it has.
Yeah.
But it's not a major – they understand that it comes from spending. But as I said, the last protest was the Tea Party. That was it.
Yeah.
There's been no major protest, whatever. There is no pressure on either Democrats or Republicans from the public to seriously cut government spending. It doesn't exist.
Nope. And I don't know what it takes.
Well, it starts with why there may we're hoping there's a change coming, which you see from independents, which is stop promising us stuff. Tell us specifically what you're going to do, because we know Trump worked on this and this. It's what you've seen and what we've talked about this week with the fact of it's more than imagery, and that's the problem that Democrats have. Democrats still believe it's all about imagery, that it's not about substance. And that's the problem that the Harris campaign has right now. It's a problem that Democrats have right now. They don't want to enter reality. They believe they have sold. We've said this for the longest time. Democrats believe that the people that vote for them are idiots and they'll buy anything. And they're getting a little bit irked that you're not buying everything that they're saying.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the problem that you're having right now. That's the shock from the media. Trump lost. Well, okay, he didn't lose that badly. Okay, it wasn't really a wipeout. Well, okay, maybe it wasn't, because independents didn't seem to be convinced by Harris. And even if Trump brings up eating cats or whatever, apparently they don't care about that. They only cared about the fact that the economy was better under him. But Trump's not going to be able to cut when he gets in office.
Right.
Republicans say they're going to cut, and they're going to cut. They're not going to make any significant progress.
No, austerity is like the bizarro version of the promise on reparations.
Yeah,
right?
It is, yes.
It's we need to do it, we need to do it. Okay, now let's make some cuts. Whoa. Cuts? No. Well, this was just a meeting. Because you have to inflict pain. And you're not going to get away with that. And, with the whole idea of reparations, you start with this idea, and then it's like, okay, now let's put pen to paper. How do we pay for it? Oh, I guess we can't. Well, we're done here. And you cannot politically I don't know of any strategy politically that will get you to austerity effectively, that will get you to where we need to be.
The public recognizes it.
They know it.
They recognize it more than they ever have before.
And we're going to start that diet next Monday.
Well, yeah, they recognize it more because they felt the pain of inflation, and they know where inflation comes from.
Yep,
they know it.
Yep.
You notice I haven't heard where is the corporations have caused the inflation? I haven't heard that rhetoric.
I haven't seen that
in a couple of weeks. It's like because it doesn't. Companies don't cause inflation.
Right. People know.
The government causes inflation. The government spending is causing the fear that you feel today. And one of my first jobs was a bill collector. All during college, I was a bill collector. It taught me to fear debt. I fear debt. I probably am, and I think you're like me. At times, even have a completely, people might view unreasonable paranoia of debt. But I'd rather have that than be the other way.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
But that's because I saw what debt did to families. You saw it as a bill collector. I saw what it did. And I see the fear that people feel. And I will tell you this, even with that experience, it took a couple of very strong parents to pound into my head that debt was bad. I mean, that'd be something as a young person that had to be pounded into me, and then I had to see it in real life for me to understand it. And you and I go back to Bar Rescue with John Taffer, and we go back, man, it was like over a decade ago.
Yeah.
But it was the Pirate Bar, if anybody remembers that episode of the Pirate Bar. That was in, was that Silver Spring, Maryland? Is that where that was?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Wow.
Was that Maryland or Virginia? I can't remember. But it was the Pirate Bar. And it was unbelievable. These people running this Pirate Bar, which, we're serving the food, and the food wasn't that great, whatever. And John Taffer went in and goes, what the hell are you doing? People dressed as pirates. It's like, no, stop it. And they were like living with the husband and wife living with their parents or whatever. And what was it? $700,000-800,000 in debt.
Yeah.
And
no, I think it was close to $1 million. It was over 900,000.
Was it? Okay. Yeah. Something like it. It was unbelievable. Yeah. And they didn't seem to be, it's like, well, you're living with your parents. You have no life. Yes, but we believe in the Pirate Bar. It's not working. And so Taffer changes it. Remember? No, you're in a business section.
Yeah.
Happy, you got to do lunch and happy hour. That's where you make it.
Right.
You don't make it as a dinner place doing it. Everything he said made sense.
Right.
And so he changes it so it's going to be successful. So the business people will use the restaurant. They go back to the pirate restaurant. They file bankruptcy.
Yeah, my question to John Taffer was, wait a minute, is this generational? Do people just look at the numbers on a piece of paper and they don't understand how much they actually owe? Because it stuck in my mind. It was, I want to say 950,000, something like that.
Because if I was, because you and I talked about this. If you and I were just throwing this out, hypothetical numbers, if we're in a business and we're doing $10,000 a month and in profit, okay? All right, I'll make it easy. $1,000 in profit a month.
Right.
If I'm down to $500 profit a month, I haven't lost anything. I am the most paranoid person in the world as to what in the hell's, I won't say paranoid, concerned.
Yeah, well, you see your tires halfway inflated, right. It still has air in it, but man, we're going to be in trouble soon.
But if you think that I'm going to be making $1,000 a month, and all of a sudden I'm losing $1,000 a month, and I do that for 10 years, you're out of your mind.
Yeah.
That's what I couldn't understand, why people do that. And that's why you asked Taffer, is it just numbers? Is it just numbers in an electronic bank account and they don't they don't
grasp it, Because think about that. I see it as, I don't know how big a bag would be filled with $900,000. But I see that as actual money. Not just something on a paper but the problem is in modern times, and this wasn't our parents didn't do this.
No.
But in the generation since our parents and now, we built this up to say, well, it's somebody else's money. I don't care. I'll still be here tomorrow, even if the bar is gone, even if my livelihood is gone. Doesn't matter. It's not my money. I'll file bankruptcy. I'll move on.
Your life sucks for a long time.
Likely for the rest of it.
866-90 Red Eye.
Coming up, more with Gary McNamara and Eric Harley. It's Red Eye Radio.
It's Red Eye Radio. He's Eric Harley, and I'm Gary McNamara. All right, now, really for the first time in a long time, Trump has nothing in his way right now. There is no lawfare. There's no court cases.
There's not even another debate, probably.
The only debate is the vice president debate. I wouldn't be surprised Walz pulls out of it, says,
Right.
well, if you won't do one with Harris, I'm not going to do one with him.
Right.
But there's nothing in his way. I think from now on, the former president Trump I'm talking about should do mostly friendly media and the rallies. And if you do go on enemy media, then you send Vance in there to do it. And when you go there, what you do is you pound on Harris to define herself in the liberal media, but you have Vance do it. Otherwise, you don't do much because you've defined yourself. Your only goal
Do your rallies.
is to point out to the American people where she is not, where she's lying to you. She doesn't believe in these things.
Right.
Vance is best to do that in enemy media. Keep pounding the odds, and you make it so she's got to define herself. You
Right.
You don't need to help her.
Exactly.
This is Red Eye Radio on Westwood One.